my friend, and welcome to Pro Wrestling Daily. My name is Aaron Machbitz. So Tom Brady goes on Logan Paul's Impulsive podcast and says Hulk Hogan is the greatest WWE superstar of all time. Now, the internet wrestling community wants to cancel Tom Brady for saying, even mentioning, even thinking about Hulk Hogan. Obviously, we have to cancel Tom Brady now. That just is what it is. I'm totally joking. I don't believe in cancel culture. I think cancel culture is stupid, dumb, and doesn't make anything better. But a better approach for Tom Brady could have potentially been, I don't really have an answer to that question. I haven't watched wrestling since the 80s, so I might not be the best guy to answer that question. That's a potentially great answer to that question, but when you think WWE, when you think wrestling, Hulk Hogan's name is still top of mind. He is one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, no doubt. It doesn't matter what kind of person he is. When people think about wrestling, professional wrestling, they think Hulk Hogan. He is the typical professional wrestler, larger than life superhero, and that's just what comes up for people. So for Tom Brady, who's focused on everything else except WWE, obviously his first inclination is to mention Hulk Hogan. Now, I would have guessed Tom Brady would have mentioned like The Rock, since I think he has a little bit of a relationship with him, but he went with Hulk Hogan. And I kind of think that's funny because the internet wrestling community just gets so upset about the mention of Hulk Hogan. You know, yes, he is a scummy person. Obviously, we all know that, but like canceling people doesn't work. It's stupid, and it shouldn't even be like on the table as sort of a course of action. Again, it's really cool. It's really cool when people are asked a question and they don't have an opinion or don't have an answer or don't really understand the subject very well, and they just go, I actually can't really speak on that matter. I haven't looked into it, or I don't really have an opinion on that, or that's not something I can talk about. That is so cool because with social media and everyone has a YouTube channel and everyone has a platform to say whatever they want, everyone feels like they can be an expert on everything and they know all subject matters. I definitely don't. That's why I host a podcast called Something for Everybody, because I don't know a lot of things and I want to learn from experts and guests and other people and life experience. And that's the coolest part about social media, is that we can learn. But when we don't know, it's really powerful to say, I don't know, or I don't have a comment on that, or I don't feel like I should make an opinion on that. And that's okay. And potentially Tom Brady could have done that in this moment. Instead, he went with Hulk Hogan, baby. But for those who don't know, I think the WWE wrestling Mount Rushmore is John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Randy Orton. Those who I think are the greatest WWE superstars of all time. Of course, you can add some people in there: Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, Roman Reigns, things of that nature. But those are my four guys, and I love them. And I think I will send Tom Brady some matches and some moments to watch of John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Randy Orton, so that the next time someone asks him that question, boom, he drops the hammer on him with it's John Cena. Boom. That's the way it goes. And then you have another celebrity that we want to talk about, which is Travis Scott, who has been involved heavily in John Cena's heel run. You know, we saw him at the Elimination Chamber, punch Cody Rhodes in the eardrum. We saw him at WrestleMania 41. And now the rumors are, and I think they're very true, is that Travis Scott is training with Booker T for his first WWE match. Now, this should have been happening from the jump. This should have been happening, and I imagine it was, but like he did actually punch Cody Rhodes in the eardrum, and I know Booker T is not teaching him that because that's not work rate at all. That's not professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is about, you know, making it look like you're dominating and destroying and being vicious without actually hurting, injuring, or hitting anyone. That's how the sausage is made. And everyone knows that now at this point, but it should be very clear when celebrities like that get into the ring. People need to be more like a Bad Bunny, right? Look at Pat McAfee, right? These people take it very seriously when they enter the ring, and I think Travis Scott really does love wrestling, and I think that's awesome. And I think it's also awesome that he's training with Booker T, who's going to give him everything he needs to know to maybe potentially have a tag team match with John Cena against I don't know who. But that would be somewhat cool. I don't really love all the involvement of Travis Scott, especially at WrestleMania 41. I thought it was useless. Obviously, we know now that at WrestleMania 41 is where the heel turn for John Cena was originally planned, which I think would have been amazing. But with all this shit that went down with The Rock, it happened at Elimination Chamber, and it was forced. And then WrestleMania 41, we only saw Travis Scott, and sort of everyone knows how we feel about that. I did a video about that whole thing with The Rock, and I'll link that in the comment section below, or you can just go to my channel and you can find it there. But I think it's really, really, really good that Travis Scott is training with Booker T. And I think it would be cool if he got in the ring and there was an actual, tag team match. Maybe Bad Bunny is involved in that match, or maybe it's Travis Scott versus Bad Bunny with Pat McAfee as a special guest referee and all of this stuff going on. But I think it's really cool that if Travis Scott loves wrestling and he's made some merch and he's at shows and he's doing the damn thing, that he's working hard, training with Booker T. I think that's really cool, and hats off to Travis Scott for doing that. And then one last thing before we go is just some Backlash predictions. I think John Cena will retain his title versus Randy Orton. There will be a bunch of shenanigans at the end of this match that allow John Cena to retain his championship. I think Becky Lynch will beat Lyra, even though this feud is really popping off, and I think Lyra would behoove her to hold the championship a little bit longer and to beat Becky in the center of the ring. But I do believe Becky's going to beat her, grab that championship. Their feud is going to maybe continue a little bit longer because their last couple weeks on Raw and those segments have been awesome, and I really want it to continue. And then I think Dominic Mysterio versus Penta. I think there's going to be some shenanigans there that allow Penta to win his first championship, and then Dominic Mysterio potentially is going to move on to something with maybe a Finn Balor and sort of the implosion of the group. Maybe that won't happen at Backlash, but I think eventually it will happen. Jacob Fatu versus Drew McIntyre versus LA Knight versus Damian Priest. Fatu will retain there. And then Pat McAfee versus Gunther. In my opinion, Gunther should absolutely destroy McAfee. He should eat him for lunch in less than 5 minutes. I think that's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is Gunther is just going to absolutely start dominating Pat McAfee. It's going to get kind of gross and vicious. And then Goldberg is going to come out and save the day. And I think those are my Backlash predictions as we stand on May 8th, 2025. So let's see if I get those right. I mean, we have a SmackDown to watch, and then we have Backlash on Saturday, May 10th. But come back here to this video to see if I got any predictions right, or I was totally off, and and I didn't do a good job with those predictions. But I think somewhat I got a decent feel for what might happen on Backlash, and those are my predictions. So thank you very much for watching. Comment down below what you think might happen at Backlash. Rumors, predictions, anything like that. Would love to hear from you. Then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and thank you very much for joining me on this journey. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.